And welcome back to the Northeast Florida surf fishing forecast for October 13th through the 15th. As you can see, this is a late afternoon in Jack's Beach. The water is getting beautiful, guys. Light west-northwest winds, and that's going to continue. My buddy was fishing. He caught some nice whiting. Saw people this morning in Ponte Vedra when I was down there. They were catching some nice whiting. There are plenty of sand fleas around and plenty of mullet. They added a new section onto the pier, and they've actually started putting in a few new pilings on the pier they're repairing. So looks like they're trying to double dip there, which is good for us fishermen. The sooner the better that pier's open, because a lot of the times this time of year, those Pompano will sit out about halfway out on the pier on the sandbar, and we just nail them. Big Pompano, 15, 16, 17 inches. Get our limit and leave. It's like that when it's out there. But guys, the water's great, so there's no reason why you shouldn't be out there fishing. Like I said, the sand fleas, they weren't up shallow. They were probably a little under knee deep, and they're all sizes. Just a word of advice, I don't like the ones that are as big as a quarter. So if you can, nickel size seems to be the best. Even dime size. Dime size, the whitings love them. Nickel size, the Pompano eat them. And the big ones, I've caught more rays, big 50-pound stingrays on the big sand fleas. So I really do stay away from those monster sand fleas. They just don't seem very productive in catching a lot of quality fish, unless you're around the rocks or the pier or all the inlets where there's rocks, because the redfish will eat them, guys. Like I said, that's the size sand flea I love to use. So if you haven't, now's the time to stock up while they're still here. And as I was saying, the sand fleas are really thick right now. The high tide seems to be the better tide. When we get west winds, what a lot of people don't realize, when it's west and it's real flat, it is much harder to find the sand fleas. They don't get up real shallow like they do with the east wind, where there's more surf and whitewash. The more whitewash, whitewater you want to call it, the more churned up the surf is, the better to find the sand fleas, because that's when they feed the most. So when it's west and flat like that, you gotta usually go out a little bit deeper, usually a little below knee deep, and then just look for them. Like today, the water is so clear, I was just looking and you could see all their little fillers up, filtering the water. So just walk slowly and find them. High tide. At low tide in Ponte Vedra, there was only a few schools this morning. Nice schools of them, but the thing to keep in mind, in Ponte Vedra, there's also a lot less beach traffic. In Jack's Beach, there's a ton of walkers. All that vibration does cause the sand fleas to dig down deeper, so that's just something to keep in mind. So if you're going to Jack's Beach for them, early morning, late evening, before dark, the less people the better. Go to a part of the beach where there's not a lot of walkers, and you'll find more sand fleas. Now, for the weekend, we saw that we had south winds on Saturday, dirty water. South winds Sunday morning, dirty water. Switching to the west Sunday afternoon. Monday, west winds, the water's cleaning up. So for Tuesday, they're calling for west winds in the morning, 5 to 10, and southeast, 5 to 7 in the afternoon. So it's going to be clean water again, which is great. Then on Wednesday, northeast, 10 to 12. When I'm, as a fisherman, when I see northeast 10 to 12, that's the green light to go fishing. That water will be beautiful. Same for Thursday, northeast 5 to 8. So this week, literally even up until Friday, if the forecast holds, every day this week, before the weekend, because the weekend is looking rough. Another northeaster will be moving in with 20 the 25-mile northeast wind, so it's going to be rough. But the next 4 days, the water is going to be beautiful. We're going to have good winds, and there should be a lot of fish caught. As you can see, just Sunday afternoon and Monday, from the pictures at the beginning, there were quite a few pompano and whiting caught. A permit was caught. The reds are definitely in the surf right now, chasing the mullet. The schools of mullet I saw today, they were probably out 50 yards when my buddy was casting. Every time he cast, schools of mullet were jumping out of the water. The only thing I did not like, because you could see the mullet on top swimming slowly out there, I never saw a blue or a Spanish or anything bust them. That's sort of depressing, because where are they at? They got to be hanging in the inlet. So this weekend is another cold front, and we're going to get a northeaster. Chances are that's going to really push the mullet out on the beach, and then we're going to see pretty much everything start migrating south. Because with this cold front, I think it's going to be a high of 70 on Saturday, low of 60, which don't seem like much, but you got to look at the bigger picture. Up north, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, it's going to be much colder. So those pompano that are up there now will all be headed south, and they'll be at our beaches, and it does not take them any time at all. So if you haven't done so, get all your rigs ready. Check out Chip's store, the Sinker Guy's store. He's a great guy, great tackle, great Sputniks. Also check out A1A down south. He sent me that package of really awesome pompano lures that you add to your line. I put his name on there a few videos ago. If you want to check it out, or go on Facebook, you can find him on Facebook. His name is George Harris. He makes excellent hand-tied pompano jigs. So the next few days, there's going to be a lot of pompano caught, whiting. The reds should be caught. So right now, the reds are hitting the cut mullet, crab, fish bites, and shrimp. And if you're around rocks, use sand fleas. They really do love the sand fleas when they're swimming around the rocks. There's still trout in the surf. They're hitting live finger mullet and live shrimp. Of course, the whiting, they're hitting everything. Fish bites especially, fresh shrimp, clams, and sand fleas, and crab knuckles. Same with the pompano. Fish bites, sand fleas, clam, and crab knuckles. It may seem foolish sometimes to bring so many different baits, but it's not, because one day you may go and all they hit is crab knuckles. So you go the next day and just bring crab knuckles, and you never have a bite, while the guy next to you is using sand fleas and he's catching them. That's why we always say bring an assortment of food. The fish like it, and you don't want to go out there and not have the right bait. You can always freeze what you don't use, guys. Or like with clams, you can salt them, and that'll last for trips. I've been out on Little Talbot Island before, had clams, sand fleas, and crab knuckles. All I hit was clam. Went back the very next day, and all they wanted was shrimp. Go figure. If I knew what makes the fish eat what, I could write a book, huh? And like I said, with this northeaster coming up, the mullet should really empty out onto the beach. More reds will be caught. If there's any tarpon left, which there's still tarpon in Nassau Sound, guys. So they're still there, and if you want to go get a tarpon, go in there around Nassau Sound area with a big mullet. They love those mullet, or a big topwater. Also, as far as the river's concerned, lots of flounder are coming up. The sheephead are biting. And if you want big reds, they are absolutely killing the big reds right now. 25, 35 foot deep water, in the deep water, they're hanging. Use crab, you can use mullet. What I would advise though is don't use such light tackle that it takes 20 minutes to pull in a 40-inch red. Use a little bit heavier tackle. Get that fish in fast. Get your picture. Release them properly, because there have been a lot of fish that have been found floating in the river now because they're not being released properly. Learn how to vent. Learn how to release properly. These fish are what sustains the population, guys. These big reds are the breeders. They lay the eggs. We don't want to kill them. We want to get a picture, release them, and catch their offspring in about 5 years, where we can take them home and eat. So that's about all I got for you until Thursday. I'm going to try to get some fish tomorrow. Hopefully I'll have a report for you guys. The water's nice. It's going to be nice. I'm going to catch some sand fleas. I'm going to buy some live shrimp and clam. And I'll try to get a few pompano and whiting. Nothing like a good batch of fried whiting and grilled pompano. And if If you haven't tried Pompano, they really are good. Whiting are good. And as it cools down, the whiting will only get bigger. And speaking of Pompano, my buddy on Sunday fished in the area. He saw a few Pompano that were up to 20 inches, all on sand fleas. Like I said, the day before he said they hit shrimp. Then the very next day, all they wanted was sand fleas. And after this video, I got the tides. Right now, you got the tides midday, low tide, and then the high tides early morning, late afternoon. So the late afternoon is good because you have the incoming. Right now, with the west wind, a low tide in the middle of the day, I don't particularly like because it will be really flat. The tide goes out a little bit further on the west wind, and with the water clear, those fish do get a little bit spookier. So if it were me, fish in the morning on the first of the outgoing before the sun gets up high, and later in the afternoon as the sun starts to set back towards the west. So with that being said, guys, tight lines, and show me your catches when you get them.